January 27, 2024 meeting of the Lake Bluff Joint Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. If we could have a roll call, please, Ms. Gable.
Yep. Member Danley.
Here.
Member Fisher.
Here.
Member Miller.
Here.
Member Russell has communicated that he'll be absent. Member Sorensen.
Here.
Member Toll.
Here.
And Chair Peters.
Here.
Great, we have a
Thank you.
quorum.
All right. Agenda item number 2 is our non-agenda items and public comment time. We allocate 15 minutes at the start of the meeting for anyone to approach and to address any issues that are not on the agenda. Is there anyone out in the audience that wishes to approach? Hearing none, we'll proceed to agenda item number 3, consideration of the December 14, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Any proposed revisions or corrections?
I had just sent in a typo, and then in one place, the word employees needed to be instead of employment.
And
So
we've
I
noted
sent
those. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deb. Anything else? Hearing none, is there a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Recording in progress.
a little slow. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, public hearing residential variations, 134 East North Avenue. Ms. Gable, if you could provide us with an overview, please?
Peter and Susan Coburn are seeking a variation from section 10-5-3 of the zoning regulations. The Coburns would like to upgrade and expand their recently purchased home to meet their family's needs. The existing home was built around 1922 and encroaches approximately 2.8 feet into the 12.8-foot corner lot side yard setback. And while the Coburns are not proposing to encroach further into that setback, they are proposing to increase the degree of nonconformity by adding height to that encroaching portion of the home, going from a height of 23 feet to 27 feet. The petitioners are in attendance tonight to present their request, and on this matter, the PCZBA is the decision-making body.
All right, thank you. Who will be presenting tonight?
Harry.
Oh, yes, and we'll swear you in.
Yeah, anyone that's going to talk
Yeah.
is sworn in.
Anybody that wants to present tonight will have to be sworn in, so if you could stand up, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And if you could state your name for the record and your address, please.
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Susan Coburn, and I'm here tonight with my husband, Peter, and our architect, Tom Dobbins. And we currently reside in the city, 1242 North Lakeshore Drive, Chicago. And we have recently closed on the purchase of the home at 134 East North Avenue. Just to give you a little bit of background, we initially moved to Lake Bluff in 1988, in December of 1988, raised our 3 children here, and really treasure the memories and had, of course, love Lake Bluff very much. When we became empty nesters, we decided we needed a chapter in the city of Chicago. So we sold our Lake Bluff house and moved downtown. It was an adventure, to be sure. But as everybody would have predicted, we missed Lake Bluff very much. And we are ready now to be back. And we've purchased this home with the idea that this is our final chapter house. And there is so much that we love about this house. It has the character and the charm of what we think is so typical of Lake Bluff. There are just some existing conditions that we're working with that we hope to have relief from this evening. So we appreciate your consideration, and from here I would turn it over to our architect, Tom.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Clara, will you snap one? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm Tom Dobbins. Some of you I know. I'm not up here very often, but I'm helping the Colburns on this particular project. And as you all know, we need a variance. We consider it a relatively modest variance, but you guys are going to be the judge of that. So you get a little snapshot of a rendering of what the house will look like. I'll walk you through the presentation. I won't dwell on anything. If you have any questions, feel free to do that, and we can come back to those. So the project description, what we're planning to do to the house. So when the Colburns bought it, there was a moment in time where they considered a tear down. Okay, they didn't really want to do a tear down. Nobody really likes a tear down, but the house needed some modernization and some upgrades and expansion to suit their family. So we settled on a remodeling, and that's what we're here to present you with today. They are planning to add a master bedroom suite on the first floor, and a couple bedrooms and a den and a bathroom upstairs. All things that are considered pretty standard for most Lake Bluff houses. The unique characteristics of the lot are really threefold. The one that we're here to talk about the most is the eastern setback. The house was moved, as you'll see, which is an interesting tidbit, to a location on the property 10 feet from the eastern property line, and the setback is now 12.8 feet. Which of course it either wasn't that back then or there were no setbacks, hard to know, in 1922. The other thing is the garage is non-conforming, and it is not eligible for the bonus that the Lake Bluff zoning allows. Not that we're asking for a bulk or square footage variation, but that's just one more slight hardship because we're not allowed, if we were building new, of course, we could take advantage of that by putting the garage in the back corner of the property. And lastly, there's some very, very high-quality trees on the property. If we would have done a tear down, of course, those trees would have been in jeopardy and we'd have other problems. So the variance is really just the eastern tip of the second floor. Because the eastern side of the house is over the setback, we want to extend it up, as Clara said, and that's what we're here to present. An aerial photograph. Go ahead to the next one. Existing photographs when it was a little nicer weather out. I'm sure many of you have driven by and taken a look at it. The other unique feature of this particular property is on the back of the garage is an attached porch, which is a bit unusual, which again counts against our square footage. Okay, next one. All right, so I'm not sure if you can blow this up, if anybody has good eyes, but in the back corner, which would be the northeast corner, they moved the house in 1922 to its present location, and they added an addition in the front. So when we say the house was built in 1922, it was really moved in 1922. We're not really sure when it was built. Not that that's relative to the variation, but that's our first and we actually have a plat of survey and a real blueprint in the house, so they have a record of that for sure. Next slide. Then in 1971, over to the right side, they added a bedroom addition to the west side of the house that still exists now. We're proposing to tear that down and expand that to be the master bedroom suite. And then there's an old real estate listing. We included that just because we thought you might be interested. Next slide. Okay, here's the plat of survey. Of course, Lake Bluff has done their due diligence on the bulk and square footage, impervious, all those good things, and I think we did okay on all of that. So next slide. We got 3 letters of support that I've included here. I think as I saw in the minutes that you guys published, a 4th one came in as well that was supportive. They just wanted to make sure we didn't screw up the drainage. We promise we will not screw up the drainage. Next slide. So these are some comparisons. This is something you guys must see a lot. Clara had asked for us to put these slides together. So this is a comparison of the site development. So the plat of surveys on the left, which you've already seen, and to the right is our architectural site plan. You can see the garage and the porch on the north side of the property, very close to the property line. And then you can see the existing house as it exists today with a crosshatch going to the right and then a tighter crosshatch to the left, which would be the addition. As you look at it, and it's labeled this way, the back section is the expansion that's kind of L-shaped. The front section is actually a proposed front porch, which will be eligible for the bonus. Okay, next slide. These are the floor plan comparisons. To the right, you see let's see here. Yeah, to the right, you see the second story, which is where the bulk of the work takes place, but I'll start with the left. So the floor plan is about 1,300 square feet existing, and we're expanding it a little over 200 square feet. If anybody is interested in zoom in, we're adding a master bath, closet, and of course, bedroom. On the right, you can see on the lower section, a very small second floor that we're demolishing. The head clearance there is not unusable, but it's really not functionable for a modern family. So we're rebuilding the stair, and we're putting 2 bedrooms upstairs, a bathroom, and kind of a den open at the top of the stairs that can serve as another bedroom if needed. Next slide. And here is probably the most important exhibit, potentially. We have the photographs of the existing house. On the top is the back. In the middle is the east side, and then the front elevation at the bottom. And we've got our drawings to the left. If you look in the middle, you can see a red dash on the eastern elevation. The red dash is the existing roof line as it exists now. We're raising it about 3 or 4 feet in the same plane as the existing wall. It would be very difficult and a hardship to have stepped that back just to avoid the setback. We certainly, if we were doing a new house, wouldn't have violated the setback, but since the wall's there, we're extending it up about 3 or 4 feet. Percentage-wise, it's whatever Clara had mentioned. We consider that a very reasonable request. And the other thing that this shows is the daylight plane. We're comfortably within the daylight plane, and we're very comfortable under the maximum height of 32 feet. I think we're 27 feet maximum, so we're quite a bit below that. So we think the house is very in keeping with the neighborhood and the scale. Next slide. And of course, here is a view from the side, kind of mimicking the rendering. You can see the house in the photograph below. Driveway next door is pretty close. There's some very high-quality arborvitae providing screening along that side. We're going to save as much as we can and replant whatever we can't save. And then the rendering, I'll just describe some of the materials, even though they may or may not be relevant for the variance. But wood siding, painted wood siding, white wood-clad windows, some field stone at the porch, and then wood shingles is the plan for the roof. 11-12 pitch on the steep side and a 3-12 pitch on the lower side, all kind of having the geometry work out. Next one. And there it is. Hopefully it'll look very close to that. And by the way, the landscaping is just theoretical at this stage. There's going to be a serious landscape effort, but the foundation will be screened, of course. And then the next slide. You may not have even included that. So I included the in-progress construction documents. I don't know that you need to see those. They're very, for purposes of the variance, you've seen really what you need to see, but those are available if needed.
Yeah, they should have copies
Yeah.
in their packets as well.
So that's the presentation. I'm happy to answer questions, or I know Susan and Peter would be happy to answer some as well.
If you could, Mr. Dobbins, just go briefly through the standards for variation.
Sure.
Thank you, just to make a record.
Yeah, let me just get them in front of me. So the hardship, as we talked about, is primarily the fact that the house was relocated, not constructed, but relocated over the eastern property line. It's over the property line by 2.8 feet. And that creates hardship if we can't extend that wall relative to a modern floor plan. Simple as that. It would be kind of crazy to have to step that back. The head clearance in the existing second floor is just not suitable to a modern house, frankly, of that value. So that's the biggest hardship. The other hardship, trees and existing conditions that cause some special characteristics. Since we're not asking for any square footage variations, they really aren't relative to this, but it all kind of factors in taking, an old house sitting on the property in a weird way with some unusual accessory buildings and trying to bring it up to, current standards. The physical features, the unique, as I summarized here, the setback, high-quality trees, if a tear down was considered, as well as the accessory structures are non-compliant, meaning we're limited in the amount of square footage we can add. We are maxing out the square footage, make no bones about it, but we are not planning to go over. We are not, in our opinion, we're not asking for any special privilege here. We're just asking for pretty much what everyone else has in the neighborhood and what would be customary for a, home of this type. And code, we plan to meet all the code. Drainage, as we talked about, the drainage pattern really isn't going to be changed at all as a result of this.
Great, thank you very much. From the commissioners, who wants to start?
I'll start.
Ms. Danley?
I was just thinking if it was new construction, think about the trees that would have to come down. The scale would most likely, have been asked for a larger variance. And, I think replacing it with the aluminum to wood and your windows and, the overall look of this, I know we're not into, the charm of it, more about, what you're seeking here, but I think it's a great alternative than what could have been. And we are trying to even do a new tree ordinance and working on the heritage trees, and I know that would have been a hardship for the tree as well as anything else. But also your presentation, I really liked that you had a photograph, and right next to the photograph was the house and the existing, and then what you were going to do with it. It's really helpful.
Good,
So
good.
thank you for that on a personal note.
Yeah,
It's
there
easy
is
to follow.
one very high-quality oak in the backyard that we're not
Yes.
getting anywhere close to.
Right.
So I'm pretty confident that that'll survive nicely.
Thank you, Ms. Danley. Ms. Fisher?
I think it's going to be a delightful addition to Lake Bluff. I grew up in the neighborhood. I have probably rode my bike, walked, et cetera, a gazillion times past that house. So I think it's just going to really be an enhancement. And I think it's thoughtful in terms of the impact on the corner lot there, not to do the new construction, the scale, trees, as Jill said, the streetscape. There are some more diminutive houses along there, and I think it's not going to overwhelm anything, but it's going to complement. So really kudos to you guys, to your team. I think it's really, really well done. And I look forward to seeing it, and I support it, and I have faith, and I, do have faith that the engineering will keep that person, the neighbors' issues, in check and such. I understand that totally. We don't want to impact anybody else, but I think it's great.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
Welcome back to the neighborhood. I'd like to say that. One question I have is, what's the state of the foundation of the house currently?
Well, the foundation is concrete, believe it or not, in the lower portion, and then it's got brick and block from grade up. The house has been well-maintained, at least recently. I mean, the basement is impeccable, shockingly so. No sign of water, no sign of cracks. It's supporting a modest second floor now. when we build the second floor, we're bearing on exterior walls, and we're doing some posts in the basement to make sure that we're okay. The master bedroom addition has almost all new foundations and 1971 foundation, which is relatively modern, so we're pretty confident we'll be just fine.
Are you extending out the basement underneath the master bedroom?
Now, it's a crawl space.
That's a crawl space. Well, like I said, welcome back to the neighborhood. It's nice to have you back.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Miller. Ms. Sorensen?
I don't think I have anything additional to add. You've summed it up between the streetscape and it's really, it's a minor variance for the improvements which will be in keeping with the scale, certainly, and the scale of the neighborhood, which is really, really nice. And yes, charm does count in that case, but I really appreciate that, as well as keeping, protecting the trees. So, and welcome back. Well done.
Thank you, Ms. Sorensen. Mr. Knoll?
I have the benefit of going last, and so most of everything that I had in mind has been said. I think this is, as you mentioned, if this was a new build, a tear down and a new build, it's likely it would be taller, and it's likely just the scale of it would be off for the neighborhood. So I think this is a very appropriate renovation and small addition, and I support it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would echo the comments by the commissioners, and also thank you for a very excellent presentation and document. It was very, very user-friendly, very, very comprehensive, and gave us a nice roadmap. So I have no other questions, and again, welcome back to the Coburns.
Okay, great.
Any further discussion?
You know, I did have one question. Did you happen to reach out to the neighbor to the west for support?
Yes, we have a letter.
There is a letter from that neighbor to the
Yeah, we
to the
actually
west.
have a letter from all the neighbors.
Okay, all right. I didn't see it, that
Yep.
particular neighbor in the packet. Okay, good.
Correct? That's right. Yeah.
Okay, good, good.
Clara, can you read out George's letter? Or put it into the,
Can.
because I think I
Let me
couldn't
see.
download it.
Yeah, I
Download
couldn't
it.
download it either.
So George Russell, who is traveling tonight and isn't able to attend, just wanted to have his comments shared with the board. And what he says is, I have reviewed the packet of information provided for the subject variation request, and I firmly support the granting of the requested variation. In most typical redevelopment scenarios, the home on the subject property would be completely torn down and replaced with a new home that would be 5 feet higher, built to the permitted height of 32 feet, and would have several hundred more square feet of floor area than what's being proposed by the applicant. Because the applicant is retaining the existing non-conforming garage, due to setback, they are not able to take advantage of the detached garage floor area bonus, and nearly all new home builders take advantage of that when completely redeveloping a property on a small lot in East Lake Bluff. While the variation percentage may seem large, the proposed vertical extension of the east wall of the home creates a very small change in visual appearance. The area shown above the dashed red line on plan sheet A9, particularly compared to a 32-foot high complete new home that would be constructed on this lot. Also, by retaining the existing garage and limiting the amount of new foundation work, the applicant is significantly improving the chances that the mature trees in and around this lot will survive, as opposed to the impact that a complete new construction would have on these trees. For these reasons, I support granting of the requested variation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any further discussion from the commissioners? Hearing none, is there a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve as stated, as we've discussed,
Thank you.
without
Second,
any changes.
is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Danley seconds. Could we have a
Yeah.
vote, please?
Member Danley?
Aye.
Member Fisher? Aye. Member Miller?
Aye.
Member Sorensen?
Aye.
Member Toll?
Aye.
And Chair Peters?
Aye.
All right.
Next steps for the petitioners. Yeah, we should close the public meeting too. Thank you.
Don't want that open.
Next steps. Ms. Gibb?
Well, so this is the decision-making body on this matter. So the next steps will be that the resolution will be given to you guys for signature, and then from that point, you can apply for building permits.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Agenda item number 5, staff report.
Yeah, so we're still moving forward on the comprehensive land use plan. The next step with that is in March. There will likely be the missing middle housing presentation, and that's going to include the zoning barrier review, so that's something to look forward to. I think she's not actually available on the PCZBA date, so there's another date that I'll talk to you guys about to just see if you're available for in March for that presentation, but I think that's definitely something to look forward to.
Would that be in addition to a regular PCZBA meeting?
If we have items, yeah, but it could just replace it depending. And then the only other thing that I have is next month, there may be a public hearing for some minor zoning text amendments that are required as by a grant that we received from the Morton Arboretum for our tree inventory and some tree pruning in town. So just a few minor requirements that they have. We'll be bringing those for review.
Great, thank you. Commissioners report, agenda item number 6. Deb?
Raise one. I just wanted to bring up, get you guys thinking that maybe we revisit that ADU piece a little bit, because I'm kind of surprised that we haven't had anybody come forward requesting it. So I was looking at some of the literature that's going out about ADUs and what some of the challenges are in communities. And some of it relates to, I can shoot Clara a couple articles that I found that she can pass on to everybody. Just, some of the things that are challenges, some of them we've already addressed by having an ADU zoning kind of piece. But also, one piece of it is the financing. So we can do what we can do, but then we kind of forget that sometimes, for instance, somebody in the community came to me and was talking about what I think is exactly the kind of family that we were thinking would benefit from this, where it's an older husband and wife, their adult daughter grew up here, is married with a child, wants to combine the families and live together. The current house wouldn't work. So they'd be out looking for a new house, but then how does that work financing-wise if they're both putting money in? There's laws that dictate mortgages and such, so some of the financing pieces haven't caught up with ADUs yet, but I did reach out, just kind of inquiry to Brian Jessen, who's a lender with Wintrust, who can be sometimes, it's a local bank, so it can be sometimes a little creative. And he was going to look at the ruling just to see the kind of ways he could think of, because the situation comes up, okay, we also dictated, we think, Claire was looking at it, and some of our language is a little fuzzy when we look at it with specific, questions in mind. We think that if two parts of a family are living together in an ADU, and then one, let's say the senior members have health issues and need to move to another situation, or the other family gets transferred or something, can they rent, they can't sell it because it's one, you either have to both sell it or it's one entity, it has one PIN, there's all kinds of things like that. But I think we've written it so that it can't be rented outside of the family. And how does that give them any income and stuff like that? And I'm not sure that was our intention, but it might have been an unintended consequence of what we came up with, language-wise. So that's, I don't know where this fits into our lives and stuff like that, but I just wanted to raise it because I think that people are kind of looking at it, but there may be some challenges with working with it. And maybe we could get ahead of the game and say, hey, we can solve this, and then we could be the example that other communities could be looking toward if there are ways to deal with some of this. And interestingly enough, Brian even mentioned that he occasionally has families who are divorcing that would love to live together, in the same, they just don't want to live together, they want to live together. But be there for the kids and, the whole thing, and not necessarily incur the costs and everything of two separate residences. So there may even be ideas like that we haven't even considered that it might work for us. So anyway, I just wanted to put it out there that I'll shoot some things, and then we can figure out if it fits in to have more conversation about it.
Interesting.
Great. No, thank you, Ms. Fisher. Any other comments or questions from the commissioners?
Oh, and I just want to say, Brian did mention he'd be happy to come and answer any questions too, once he has a chance to think about it. Maybe there's a way, if that's helpful for anybody. So.
No. I think we'll get it on the agenda and we'll discuss it when we have all 7 here.
Okay.
Great. Hearing no other comments from the commissioners, is agenda item number 7, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
That was short and sweet.
Thank you.
Well, once we start.